So there's this thing that I have recognized and I've seen quite a bit of among the Christian community that sort of mystifies me, and it has to do with certain things that Christians are willing to do as a part of the process of, you could sort of say, fitting into society, and particularly in dealing with government. An example of this would be tax-exempt status when it comes to churches. I don't get it. I don't get it because that almost always comes with strings attached. You pretty much can't do without the fact that people are going to expect you to act in certain ways if you choose to accept their tax-exempt status. So my attitude about that is, forget the tax-exempt status, and that way you can say whatever the heck you darn well please, regardless what that is. Now, hopefully, obviously, if you're a Christian, what you're going to say is good Christian things. There's another one, and that is the idea of government and marriage. And that's what I want to talk about today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday, the 14th of December of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. Thank you for being here today, one way or another, whatever platform you're on. And today we're going to discuss this idea of government and marriage. And I'm going to go ahead and go, obviously, through my notes, which is something, as you know if you've watched me before, that I tend to do. I try not to be too stiff about it, and I try to sort of discuss the notes as I go a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. I was listening to a radio show the other day and hearing the person speaking, ostensibly a Christian lawmaker. He insists on two platforms you should be able to get any legislator to agree on. One of the two I have zero problem with. That would be to at least reduce abortion to a very limited set of circumstances. The other, he suggests there should be laws at some level making it illegal for anyone but a man and a woman to be legally married. In my mind, where Christians are concerned, it's not possible for any other thing to happen. With regard to law, I see no reason it should have any dominion over that process. I know people who choose to argue that it's necessary for the state to legally recognize marriage. You'll forgive me as I ask the question, why? Why do you consider that to be true? Sorry, I had a little bit of an interesting throat thing there. Sorry. Even if you want to have guardianship in place for children, you should need to look no further than the parents of the child or those legally designated to care for them. I'm even okay with having people who are not parents of the children or a child or children in question designated legal guardians. That's acceptable to me. It's not weird because you can look at it like they're the ones who are going to be responsible for those children who are not of age. Where I can assent to that idea, I still fail to see the reason to have the state at any level involved in the marital covenant. Want to allow tax exemptions for people looking after children? Have them register as parents of those children. Or guardians, again. If you believe they've done so fraudulently, take some sort of action. In my mind, nothing good has come of government involvement in marriage, and nothing good is ever likely to. I know many folks will disagree with me. For the life of me, I cannot begin to understand why. Look at where things are. Honestly evaluate. Tell me how I'm mistaken. Should government have any say over the marital bond? I just can't see it. I'm going to say something that's going to maybe weird some people out a little bit. I personally don't believe that's something the church should have say over. That's my personal opinion on that. Because the part of the problem is that there are people out there who are trying to sell the idea that they are in a place to counsel folks on marriage when those people are not. I'm not saying nobody is. I believe that there are lots of people out there who are qualified for that, and some of them are even pastors. preachers, priests, whatever you happen to have in your particular little group of supposed Christians. And I say supposed Christians, not saying that there aren't real Christians. I say supposed Christians because there are a lot of people out there who are playing games and calling it Christianity. And I'm going to say this again. When I start to look at what the federal or state or local involvement in marriage ought to be, in my opinion, it ought to be nothing. Polygamy, I don't agree with it, but do I think that it should be illegal? I don't think it's real, so I don't think it really, from that perspective, it's anything to begin with. But I don't think it should be illegal either. If a person decides to marry 3 or 5 or whatever women, if he or she has committed some sort of fraud, women, men, if he or she has committed some sort of fraud, okay, then take them to task on the fraud. But what does it matter if they've decided to be married to 5 different people? From a Christian perspective, I actually don't believe in the standard line on that. But at the same time, if you ask me, I'd never be married to more than one woman at any given time because I just don't think I could manage it. So that's not really a thing for me. That said, I'm not really of a mind that the Bible says that a person can only be married to one other person, and that's particularly true for males. Now, again, does that mean I have any interest in doing that or think that's a grand idea for most people? Not true for either. But regardless all of that, the one thing that I can tell you is I don't look at the idea of government being over that process and think, oh, that's a great idea. No, it's not. There's nothing good about that. If anything, it, quote, heightens the divorce rate. It makes divorce a more reasonable thing because people look at marriage as a contract. Oh, I'm just contracting with this person to stay together with them. Marriage is not a contract, and it's not a government-validated covenant either. It's a covenant between a man and a woman before God. And if you want to involve a church in that, I guess that's okay. I don't really think that that's necessarily how that ought to work, but it's okay. I can at least understand that to some degree because you're a Christian and you're acting like it. And here's the thing. That means that if there's Islamic marriage, then they're under whatever covenant or whatever decision they choose to be under, and that's their right, but we should not sanction that in a governmental fashion any more than we should sanction Jewish or Christian marriage, any of them, because that's not what government, in my opinion, is supposed to do. That's not what we're supposed to be doing with government. I don't consider that to be reasonable. Now, again, I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this entire idea. I know they are. And I'd love to hear somebody, and I've yet to hear this, I'd love to hear somebody who can give me anything more than an opinion or a strong feeling that says that government should have any say in what people are married. Again, if you want to give people tax breaks because they're raising children or want to consider them special cases because they're being a family and you think family life is good for, a culture and therefore you support that by giving them tax breaks or whatever, okay, I'm good with that. But the idea that government should specify who is family, that's a ridiculous idea to me, and that's particularly true where husband and wife are concerned. Again, if you want to say you must look after your children, and we have laws to that effect, as long as that person is the parent or guardian to those children, then I agree with that, right? The second they're not, I don't care if they're actually the birth parents for that child, the mom or the dad for that child. The second they're not, as far as I'm concerned, that's really not a thing. But with regard to marriage, I have yet to hear anybody come up with a concrete reason why I should count legal marriage anything more but a discrete contract with nothing really more to it. Does that mean marriage is not a reasonable thing? Not at all. Do I believe that there is a marriage among Christians? Absolutely. Does that mean that's something government ought to be managing? Not at all. Okay. I need to go ahead and wrap up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Tuesday, the 14th of December of 2021, moving towards that weekend because we're coming to the end of Tuesday. That means we're coming up on Wednesday, that middle of the work week day, the 15th of December of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a plus on Rumble to show that you enjoy what I'm putting out there or you think it's worthwhile. You can give me a minus if that's not the case. You can give me a thumbs up on YouTube. That is a like, or a thumbs down or a dislike if you feel I am or am not doing likewise and you're catching me on YouTube. I know not too many people are doing that. Today's subject has been government and marriage, and tomorrow we're going to talk on the subject of fact and opinion. And this is a pretty important thing, particularly considering certain things I've heard said by certain of the social media folks out there when they were dealing with court cases that dealt with fact and opinion. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you. And I hope, as always, to see you on Wednesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Tuesday, the 14th of December of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.